Hello, as promised, in order to help every student succeed, we're going to talk about math today. I'm sorry it took so long. I've been a little under the weather this week. Specifically, we're going to talk about algebra. Aren't you excited to talk about algebra? Probably not. A lot of people aren't. I want to take a second to talk about what you are actually feeling when you saw that we were going to talk about algebra. It probably was along the lines of, oh no, not math algebra. My kid's math homework makes me feel stupid. I've felt it. I know a lot of my friends have felt it. I see parents and families online everywhere saying their kids' math homework makes them feel stupid. And I want to take a second to talk about this because we have to acknowledge this. We have to understand what's happening with math that makes us feel that way in order to recognize the obstacles and overcome them. So the thing about math is in order to do a math assignment, you're going to have to use more than just your math skills. One of the first things you have to do with math is read, right? You have to read the instructions. And then the second part of it, before you get to math, is comprehension. So that's reading and critical thinking skills already, and you haven't even done any math work. So there's a lot that goes into the experience. You're going to want to be able to concentrate. A couple tips: if you have kids like I do, like multiple kids, you have a fourth grader and a pre-Ker, separate them. Make sure that one of them, they both have pens and paper, but they're at separate parts of the table. No jumping or horse playing at the table. Maybe set them up with a quiet activity in a different room if it's possible. Make sure you yourself, as the person who's helping with the math assignment, are not trying to multitask too much. Like, I cannot cook dinner and help my kid with a math assignment at the same time. It doesn't work. I get frustrated. It never gets finished. I say, hold on, I never get back to it. They get distracted, or she fills in the blanks and they're all wrong, and then she doesn't want to erase them and try again. Set yourself up for success. Give yourself the 20 minutes you need to concentrate, right? And then don't be afraid to walk away. I send math. We do. Sometimes we only get through half the page, 2/3 of the page. We're frustrated. We're exhausted. Okay, put it down. Walk away. If it's turning into a bad experience, leave it alone for the day. Come back to it a different good day. It should never be anything where you're arguing or name calling or really hot headed about it, because that's gonna make you not want to do it again in the future. We want to focus on building a positive experience or a positive environment that's gonna let you get farther than you did the last time you approached a math assignment. So let's do a little bit of warm up. We have some we're going to do an elementary comprehension practice here. So let's look at the instructions and see what they say. It says circle the part, count on to show 8 with a picture and a number bond, and write the expression. We're not going to count to 8 3 times today, but we are going to decipher these instructions. It says count on to show 8 with a picture. I see ducks here. So I know that I'm going to do something with the picture. It says write an expression. I know enough about math to know that an expression is a number sentence. So I'm going to have to do something there. And then it says count to 8 with a picture and a number bond. So even if I've never seen Common Core before, I know that I'm going to have to do something with this diagram up here in the corner. So what happens when we have harder instructions? What happens when we look at the instructions for algebra? I'm going to tell you a secret here. Algebra did not change. Common Core did not change algebra. Common Core did not change the way you do algebra. Common Core did not change the way you show your work for algebra. It did not change any of those things. So how is that possible? How did none of those things change? But how are they using Common Core from grades K to 12? What did change? What changed is the instructions, the way they tell you to solve a problem, the emphasis that the instructions put on comprehension. Comprehension is what changed with the Common Core math as it relates to algebra. So you have to have a stronger vocabulary set nowadays in order to figure it out. For example, look at this yellow ducky question. Use the number line to express the inequality. If this was my homework from 2010, those instructions would have said, use the number line to illustrate X. But now it says, use the number line to express the inequality. So what is my vocabulary? Step 1, my vocabulary. Number line, express, and inequality. I know what the number line is. So this has to be the inequality, whether I know what to do with it or not. That's going to be the inequality. And then I'm express. So I'm not changing. I'm not multiplying. I'm expressing, or I'm illustrating. What is in the inequality on the number line. So you're going to talk about this with your kid, right? Talk about what the word express means. Ask them detective style questions. What do you think this is saying? What do you remember about math class? What do you think an inequality is? Don't say, do you know how to do this? Don't use questions that are closed. Don't use yes or no questions. Use questions that are going to help get their brain thinking. Use some credible sources like Khan Academy and the videos. You can't see this, but this is a video about what a variable is. Use Khan Academy, KHAN. It's all totally free. Use Khan Academy to figure out those things that you don't know, like what an inequality is. Khan Academy will give you a written explanation. It'll give you an audio explanation, and it'll give you a video example. So no matter how you like to learn, you can go to Khan Academy and figure out your vocabulary words for free. All you need is the internet, right? And then take a second. Before you start your work, take a second to figure out how you're feeling. You've looked at you and you've deconstructed your page. You know how many questions are on your page. I forgot that one. Look at the whole worksheet. How many questions are on your page? Do you have 10 questions asking you to do the same thing? Or do you have 5 questions asking you to do one thing and 5 questions asking you to do another thing? Right? And then when you've done all of those things, consider how you're feeling, take a deep breath, and then, and only then, are you going to do your math work. So we're going to look at this. We're going to do a couple inequalities here. I'm just going to explain the rules for inequalities, and we're going to keep pushing. We have to illustrate this expression on this number line. Okay, so this says x is greater than, or x is less than or equal to negative 27, right? So because it says or equal to, we need a circle on the number line that's filled in, and then we need an arrow all the way down. Let's look at another one. X is less than 140, okay? So because it's not equal to 140, it's just less than 140, we're not going to fill in the circle on the number line. The number line is going to be open. One more. X is less than or equal to 54. 54. And it's filled in because it's less than or equal to. Now we're going to go look at something else. Here's another example. It says, use the distributive property to rewrite the expression as a multiple over sum of 2 numbers with no common factor. My goodness, what did I just say? That was a lot. So we're going to reread it again. It says, use the distributive property to rewrite the expression as a multiple of a sum of 2 numbers with no common factor. So we're going to deconstruct our page and deconstruct our instructions. What do we know? What do you know in those words? What vocabulary words do you recognize? I recognize the word expression. I know that's a number sentence. So what am I doing with the number sentence? I'm rewriting it. And that's actually really important to comprehend because we're rewriting the sentence. So whatever it gives us, we're going to rewrite it. We're not going to change it. We're not looking for a new answer. We're just going to rewrite the numbers they already gave us. So now that we know we're going to rewrite it, well, how are we going to rewrite it? We're going to rewrite it as what? A multiple of a sum of two numbers with no common factor. So what's a sum? A sum is the result obtained. So the result that we get is gonna have two numbers that have no common factor, right? So that's almost part of it. So we know that we need two numbers in our answer that have no common factors. So nothing in common, right? And what are we going to do that? We're missing a part of this step. It says use the distributive property. So we're going to rewrite the expression so it has a sum of two numbers with no common factor. So we're going to add two numbers with no common factor. And we're going to use the distributive property to do this. Now, if this was my homework assignment in 2010, what that would have said was use the distributive property to rewrite the expression in standard form. Or it would have said use A parentheses B plus C, like you see up here, to rewrite the expression. Instead, it pulled it all apart, as far apart as it possibly could. So instead of saying rewrite this in A times B plus C form, it said it really fancy. Okay, fine. Let's see if we can put it into practice. We have to use the distributive property to rewrite the expression. What is our first expression? We're going to look at one at a time. 33 plus 24. And we need to rewrite this using the distributive property. So that's a multiplication law that says we have to rewrite it into this. So how can we change 33 plus 24 into this form? Well, we can figure out what numbers multiplied into 33 because we know we're doing multiplication. Our form says we have to multiply something. So we have to multiply whatever this is going to have to be 33, and then whatever this is times this is going to have to equal 24. What numbers do they have in common? They have a 3 in common. Because I know that 33 times 11 or 3 times 11, is 33. And I know that 3 times 12 equals 24. Okay? And that would be my answer. Because I am just rewriting the expression. I'm not changing the expression. I have two numbers here that have no factor in common. There's nothing you can multiply by, nothing inside of 11, no smaller part of 11 can you use to make 12. You can't do it, right? So you've pulled out the common factor, which is 3. You've pulled the common factor out, put it on the outside, and left two products with no common factor inside the parentheses. So let's look at a different one. The next one we have is 33 plus 8. Okay, so that should be easy, right? Because we just did 33. So we can go ahead and say, okay, we have 33 here. We know that times that is 33. So what times 3 then is going to equal our 8? Well, there's nothing there's nothing you can multiply 3 by that goes into 38. So we're going to have to go back, or that goes into 8. So we're going to have to look at this from the very beginning. Okay, so you're probably looking at this and saying, well, 2 times 4, but they don't really match. So what is it? What is the answer? The answer is 1, because 1 is the only thing that 33 and 8 have in common. 33 and 8 are already two products of a sum with no common factor. Or, sorry, they are already two multiples of a sum, two numbers with no common factor. The only thing that was missing outside there was the 1, right? So we can look at another one. The next one we're going to do is 24 plus 10. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so again, we're using the distributive property like the instructions said. So whatever we're going to fill in on our answer line is going to be in that distributive property form. So we need to figure out where the no common factors are, right? So what can we multiply here? We can do 3. We could try 3, right? Because 3 times 12 is 24, but then we're not going to be able to do anything for a 10. Or we could do 5. You could put a 5 out here, maybe, but it wouldn't multiply by the 24. So the something common here that they have is the 2. What happens if we put the 2 out here? Then we have a 12. Then we have a 5. Right? And 12 and 5 have nothing in common. But if you multiply 2 times 12, you'd still get 24. And if you multiply 2 times 10 or 2 times 5, you'd still get the 10. So then we have one more. We have 16 and 12. And we need to put those into distributive property form where the sum of the two numbers has no common factors. So I'm going to use 4 because, I'm going to use 2 because 2 times 8 is 16 and 2 times 6 is 12. Now, if I left that as my final answer, it would be wrong. Why would it be wrong? Because the multiples of the sum of the two numbers still have common factors. This is wrong because 8 and 6 still have something in common with each other, right? And these numbers are some of the two numbers are not supposed to have common factors. So we have to find something else here that's going to give us our 16 and is going to give us our 12. And that's when we go to our 4. Because 4 times 4 is 16 and 4 times 3 is 12. And now we have two numbers that have no common factors. And that is how you break that down. Now, I know we went a little bit fast today. And I know that if you're not strong with your multiplication facts, that you might have gotten a little bit lost as we looked at this example. And that part of it is okay. As long as you were able to say, okay, I was supposed to take what I saw and I understood that I wasn't changing it, but I was just rewriting it. That was the goal for today. This wasn't a pop quiz on how fast can you do the work. This wasn't a pop quiz on do we remember our times tables. This was an experiment in looking at taking what is our instructions are and matching them to what needs to happen. And each time we did it, we went through and we used the distributive property to put them in a form with no factors. So I want to take a quick second here and just talk about this orange duck, right? Because something happened between here when we were at the level 1, per se, with the yellow duck, and here something changed. Things got harder. That's the same thing that all of our kids experience when we switch to Common Core. That's the same thing that our third graders experience in fourth grade and our fifth graders experience in sixth grade. It's kind of a shock and it can be overwhelming. So what if they didn't change? The question then becomes, well, if they didn't change algebra and they didn't change how they do algebra, and we're still showing our work for high schoolers the same way, why is it so hard? Why is it so frustrating, so difficult? Why are so many people having such a hard time? A big part of that answer is because of how they made the changes. You can't just make an organizational change, a huge organizational change, and say, here, go ahead, do this and do this now. Here's your materials. You got them 3 weeks before school started. You're going to do them. You can't do that because now you have a bunch of teachers who are teaching as they're learning. You have a bunch of teachers who aren't confident anymore because they have to double check themselves because they are using their brain energy to critically think their work as they're teaching it into the 100 days before we start our testing. Okay, you have parents who had a bad high school experience, who didn't like math, who had to deal with bullies, who weren't successful, who never made it past multiplication or division. And now they have to help their own kid with multiplication and division presented in a whole different way. Presented with a whole different level of vocabulary. Those things make a difference. Those things contribute to that feeling you felt in the very beginning that said, oh man, I don't really know about this. That is the I don't really know about this because you really don't know. So the next time you hear someone complaining, have a conversation with them. Talk to them about it. It's not that scary. It's the instructions. Tell them about Khan Academy. You say, hey, there's free resources. Hey, we could do this. You could do it this way. Khan Academy is great. Send them this video. It'll be on YouTube. I'm going to upload all my math videos to my YouTube page in addition to the SCSD Family Connect page so they can see it, so they can hear it, so they can see some of the work done for them. Have those conversation pieces with them. If you have math homework, if you want to help your kid with math, if you know your kid gets really frustrated with math and you're getting really frustrated with math, the only thing I need to know is their grade. And I will go in and I will pull out some assignments just like I did with these, and I will put them together so you can hear somebody talking about them, so you can see another parent doing them. And it's not, I don't get this right every time. I'm not an expert. I had to record this video 2 times the other day and 3 times today because I made mistakes or in my oral presentation or when we distributed with the 1, it confused me and I didn't have the answer right away and I panicked, so I stopped the video. We all go through it. We just have to come back to it and keep talking about it. And we have to heal. We have to acknowledge the bad feelings. We have to acknowledge the anxiety and say, okay, I understand why I feel like this. I understand why I don't like to talk algebra, but I'm going to approach it differently. These are the things I'm going to do differently this time to build a better experience. And even if it's not a great experience, even if we don't actually finish the math assignment today, I'm gonna try it again today, and no matter how it turns out, I'm gonna try it again tomorrow. And that is how you get to success. And that is how we get every student to success, is by talking about these things.